Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I am Kyra Mitchell Lewis, and I'm so pleased today to be joined by Sonia Cameron. She is an author and also just a phenomenal person. I found her and I have read through a lot of her materials. And guys, let me just tell you, this topic today, talking about managing our careers during the pandemic, managing our careers just in general, is something that I've wanted to talk about for quite some time. And I came across Sonia's profile and started to read about her information, looked at her organization, blessed the work of our hands, and it all just really aligned with Glow Up Girl and our mission to help women. And she is here today to lay some knowledge on us today. So welcome, Sonia, to the Glow Up Girl podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I just want to let your listeners know that there is hope, even in a pandemic, of finding a job. There is supernatural hiring that's going on in favor that's abundant. So, I know a lot of people feel like, it's a pandemic and I may not get hired, but that's not the case. That's not the case. There definitely is hope.
Yes. No, I think, I believe that because I know I hear a lot of people say like 2020 and they're like, ugh. And I just have to say that 2020 has probably been one of the best years, like in a long time in my life. Like, I feel like God has given me back the balance that I was seeking in my life. I mean, I'm working from home in my everyday job, which allows for me to work in my purpose on the other side and doing Glow Up Girl. And I just know that things work for the good, of those that love him. And I know that everything that I'm doing right now is like in my story is ordered by him. So I agree with you. I think that there's hope, and I think people, you have to just look to persevere and to stay strong, and you have to keep your faith during these times and keep pushing forward. Like, I mean, not to say that there's not a bad day. We all have bad days, but I definitely agree with you. And I think that's what people need to hear right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's get started. So can you tell the audience more about you and your journey and your organization? And just let's talk about Sonia.
Yes, of course. I am the blogger from blessedtowork.com. I've been writing a blog since about 2010. Been doing it off and on. I haven't really been very consistent, but lately I've been trying to be more intentional and consistent with blogging, given the environment that we're in. And it all started back in 2002, 2003, and then moving on to 2008. When I was in career transition, and especially in 2008, when I got a job at a financial firm, and all of my friends were like, how did you get hired in a recession? And I got tired of telling the story. So I just basically started writing. And then I started writing prayers to encourage those in career transition, those who were in a position on their job that they weren't happy with their job, and also just encouraging people just in the whole process. And I got fulfillment doing it, and it just blossomed from there. And then this year, I was, impacted by the pandemic, just like everybody else. And what happened was, as far as the book is concerned, and I think it was either in March or April, when they announced that 17 million people were filing for unemployment. It was like in a span of a week. And I was just really distraught about it. I was like, God, what can I do to help these people? How can I serve in this, time? What can I present to them that would help them? And so I was inspired to write this book. And the title came from, just a feeling of frustration. God, please help me find a job. I feel like a lot of people could relate to that at this time. And so I just went from the title and I just started just writing all kinds of prayers. And finally, once I finished, I organized them into 4 different sections. And it was a book, finally. And
Right.
We're excited about it.
Yeah. Now, did you set out when you first started to write and you started to write these prayers? Did you know it was going to all come together for a book, or were you just trying to find a way to help people?
Well, at first it was just, I want to help people, and people started responding to my blog, like sending prayer requests to my blog. And so I felt like I had to do something to encourage them and to, give them hope. And then the book, to be honest, I started writing a book a long time ago, because everybody was like, wow, you should write a book. You should write a book. Mm-hmm. And I started trying to write a book a long time ago, but it just never gelled. I don't know what happened, and I still have that manuscript. I'll probably publish it later on. And then I would go to writers' conferences and they would say, well, your book isn't long enough. You need 200 pages to have an official book. And that was just not my vision. I wanted something that was easy to read, something that was quick, something that was more of, a quick pocket guide. And I had basically went against the grain because my book is only 72 pages. So, and a lot of those pages are images.
But I think what you said, though, is the key thing, is that you wanted to give people a tool, like a guide. And a lot of people, just everybody doesn't like to read. Like, I like to read books, but a lot of people are just looking for quick information. In this age that we live in, everybody just wants it fast. And so I think that it's not about the length of the book. It's about the information, the impact that you can have on someone's life with your words.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's so funny. You don't have an official book because it's not long enough.
Right. Yeah, I had a reviewer call my book a pamphlet.
What?
Not this book, but the book that I started writing. So that really discouraged me. I was like, man, I'll never get 200 pages written. But it wasn't until this year, 2020, that I finally said, you know what? I'm going to publish my book on my own, and I don't care how many pages it is. I'm just going to do what's right for me.
Exactly.
And it has worked. A lot of people have been blessed by this work. A lot of people have given me accolades saying that the book is an amazing resource. So I feel like it's definitely something that's needed and something that's desired at this time.
Yes, I would agree with you. Now, can you speak to, your, I like how you define career transition. I was reading on your site. Can you talk about career transitions and your viewpoint on someone transitioning?
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are in career transition. They may not think, like, if you are working a job and you feel like this isn't a job for you, or you feel like I should be making more money, or you feel like, I'd rather be working from home, then to me, you're in career transition because you are not where you desire to be. And another person that may be in career transition is someone who's underemployed, which means their skills and abilities are not being fully utilized and fully compensated. So that's another person that's in career transition. It's not always someone who is unemployed or fired, or another person that may be in career transition is someone who wants to work from home but are required to be, facing the public, or someone who is looking at their plan B, right?
Yes.
Someone who has a job and is looking at their plan B. I mean, I could even say I'm in career transition because I have a day job as well. I work in the Research Triangle Park area as a senior analyst at a information technology firm. So, but I'm an author at night. So
right, yeah. I think that's an interesting way to look at it, because a lot of people probably would not put those things together as, like, most people do think transitioning careers like, oh, I'm trying to find another job just because I don't want this job anymore, or I don't have a job, or but never the sense of thinking, I do have a day job, but at night I'm following a passion, or, doing something else. But you do mention that plan Bs are necessary.
Right.
As well. And I like that, because I think enough people don't have plan Bs. Some people just have like what they do in their A, like what they do during the day, and then they just sort of are like, okay. Why do you feel that's so important?
Well, if the pandemic hasn't taught you anything else, it should teach you that you have to have a plan B. And I believe in multiple streams of income. Some people say you should have several multiple streams of income, but sometimes juggling all that may be a challenge.
Yes.
But it's imperative that you have more than one source of income, just in case, your primary source dries up, due to something like a pandemic. You still have other resources that you can take advantage of.
Now, what kind of advice could you give someone who is, trying to figure out what can I have as a plan B? I've got this everyday job and trying to sort of align to, sometimes people feel like, oh, they've gotten so far in life that they're like, oh, well, I never really thought about doing, like, having a side hustle.
Right. I feel like one of the things that you need to ask yourself is, what's my dream job? Like, if I never got paid, what would I do? And also the question is, what am I good at? Like, what do I do that's effortless to me that is a challenge to other people? So, for instance, my son, he's a college student now, but he does graphic design effortlessly. Without any effort. For instance, I needed to be on a radio show, and I was struggling with putting together a graphic of me and the radio host and the radio station. And it took me about 40 minutes just to get our pictures on the same graphic. And I asked him, I said, Jordan, can you do this for me? In 5 minutes, he had our pictures on there, the radio station on there, the name of my book, an image of my book, all of that. He did in 5 minutes.
Right. He's like, I got this, Mom.
Right. So, it may not be graphic design, may not be your gift or talent, but there's something that you are gifted and talented in doing. And God has given all of us gifts and talents.
Right. Yeah.
And my mother told me the other day, and I didn't know the difference between a gift and a talent. A talent is something that you inherit, and a gift is something that comes from God. So you have to be able to do a self-assessment to say, okay, what's my talent? What's my gift? What has God given me that no one else has?
Right.
And then you use those ideas and those concepts to say, okay, this is how I want to monetize my gifts and talents.
No, I think that's great advice. So what advice or tips could you share with people who may be out there searching for a different job? Some people who may have, be unemployed now that are looking for work. And then, there are the groupings of people who have jobs, but they may have already been looking for jobs pre-pandemic and are still looking to pursue a new opportunity. And I think because I hear a lot, where people are like, well, I feel blessed to have a job, and I don't want anybody to think I'm ungrateful, but I still, but I was looking prior to. What advice could you share with people?
Well, first of all, I would say the first thing you need to do is rehearse your wins. Like everyone has something that they've done for their current company or their past company that they recently worked for that helped the company and promoted the company in some manner. So for instance, you need to write down detailed stories of how you created a win for your company, how you improved the processes, how you increased sales, how you saved the company money, how you wowed the customer. And with those stories, you have materials for advancement in your current position. You can use those stories to negotiate a salary increase, as well as you can use those stories for your future employer to have something to say when they say, well, tell me about yourself.
Right.
And you can tell them about all of the wins that you've done for your previous company and and engage them in understanding who you are and what you're all about.
No, I think those are really great tips. Because I know I hear a lot of times people struggle. People, you do so much in jobs and people a lot of times don't take account for the actual things that they did really well or wins because everybody's just always moving to the next thing. It's like, oh, we did that. Okay. Hey, celebrate. And then keep going. So, and I think those are good tips to help someone with writing cover letters, because I hear all the time that people are like, do I really have to give a cover letter? Like, I hate cover letters. And
absolutely. You stand out when you give a cover letter.
Yes, because nobody else is doing them because people really don't like them. But I think those tips are really good to help people as they start to think about their sort of like when if you think about it in a product sense, or if you're launching a product, what are the key features of that and benefits? It's almost like, here are my key features and benefits as an employee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is great. No, I love that. So you do provide a free tool to anyone who visits your site in the form of a 21-day job preparation guide. And it's perfect for anybody who's planning and looking for a job, which I printed this out and I was like, oh, this is so cool, because I think people might be doing these things, but they're not doing them in this order.
Right.
So I obviously want to drive people over to your site to get this, so I'm not going to ask you to tell a lot of them, but maybe can you like give some of the starter tips that you have for people as they begin to plan for their next position?
Right. I guess the first thing is imperative and key in order to, prepare for your next position is to dream. And I always say, dare to dream big. Don't just dream, but dream big. And if you can decide what you want to do and be determined at that, then the rest is downhill. It's easy because you've already stated what is important to you, what you're good at, and that you got this.
Right.
And just making that decision is imperative to developing your strategy for what's next. Mm-hmm. So that's day one.
Yeah. And I like I like that you say dream big, because I don't think enough people like really dream big. Like I'm a dreamer, and I always shoot for the moon and hope that I land among the stars. Like someone told me that long time ago, and I am like, it's always like all the way out here, and then it has to rain, and then it starts to rain it back in. But I just feel like so many people allow for themselves to stay in a box that they feel is like appropriate to be in, and it's like, no, like you gotta get out that box and see what happens. Right. So I think that I love that.
Yeah. Another day I say to create a list of keywords for your next position. So once you dream about your next position, it's good to have keywords because a lot of time the automatic filters at employers, they base those filters on keywords. So if your resume has those keywords, then it'll float to the top versus, getting lost in cyberspace. So, and a key thing to figuring out what keywords are is to look at job openings and say, okay, do I fit this job? Or what other keywords are in this job that I could possibly put on my resume that I can say I have experience with those keywords? So.
Okay, no, that's a great one too. That's definitely a good one, because I think I've heard a lot of people that have been looking for jobs during this season and saying, oh, well, 800 people have already applied for the job, and there's probably no way they're going to look at my resume. And I mean, you're right. They may not, but if you are following these, if you start to add keywords that align to the job description, then you probably will rise to the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. And then let's have one more, and then you guys have to go to her website to get the rest of the tips.
Let me see. Let me pick another one. Okay. This is a pretty good one. Day 10, develop your elevator speech about the position that you want. So a lot of times people say, well, I just want a job. Well, no, you don't just want a job. You want a specific job, doing a specific thing, using a specific skill set.
Yes.
And those are the things you want to have in your elevator speech. You want to be able to tell somebody within 30 seconds, what you want to do, how you want to do it, and who you want to do it with.
Yes. No, I love that, because it's always the opposite of people just, doing their personal elevator pitches. And it's, because I think too that with the pandemic, what I've seen and what I've been telling people, I said, it's not just about employers interviewing candidates. It's about candidates interviewing the employers.
Absolutely.
It's about you finding the right culture to work in, and you finding the right people and the right opportunities. Like you said, it's not just the job. Like and having the 30-second elevator pitch about what you want is your opportunity to say all those important things that are important to you.
Absolutely. And it helps you in networking too. A lot of positions are found via networking. It's all about relationships, who you have a relationship with. Mm-hmm. For instance, in my current role, the job had not even been posted when I got an interview for it, because I was just explaining to one of my old coworkers, I was like, yeah, I am looking for a job and, you know, this is what I want to do. And she said, do you have your resume prepared? I was like, yeah. She was like, send me, email me your resume and I'll take it to the hiring manager. And she did. And the next day, the hiring manager called me. We did a phone interview. And after the phone interview, the hiring manager invited me on site. So it's just like this. But
wow.
It's all because relationships.
Right.
And once you have an elevator speech, you can tell your friends or your ex-coworkers or anybody in any connection that you may have exactly what you want and what you're looking for. And that's half the battle.
Yes. Yeah. Because you could probably ask 10 people and 5 out of the 10 are going to know what they're looking for. And like you said, the other 5 are just going to say, it's not just about saying, well, I want a job and I want to make this amount of money.
Right.
It's like, yes. Those things go without, go without saying that you want a job and you want to make money, but you want to be happy and you want to find a way to make an impact in a profession and in a job that you love going to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the end of the day, that's the best part is when you show up to a job. Show up however virtually or in person, but when you're showing up somewhere that you're really genuinely excited to be, and that the culture is great and the people are great, because that a lot of times matters a lot more than, just people being really smart on the job. I think that over time, even in my own just journey through my professional career, is that, you'll go places and they're like, oh, the people, I've worked places where the people were so amazing that people never left. People may have had issues with the, maybe within the business or saying, I wish this would change in the business, or I wish the leadership would do this, but the people were so great that they were like, gosh, the people, they just hire such great people and we collaborate so well. And then, I've been places where it's like, oh, well, the people,
Right.
And so it's definitely, being able to find that balance of what works best for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, I was talking to someone about this yesterday, about people being agile. I remember probably 4 or 5 years ago, people really started to talk about, our company's agile and, we need agile people. And I think that there were a lot of companies that were using that because they didn't really have to be that, they could say it. But of course, this year has really shown who's really, really focused and able to be agile and pivot quickly.
Right. I think a lot of, like you said, during this pandemic, a lot of us have to be agile and be able to reposition ourselves very easily, and also to fail forward, because not every position is meant to be worked remotely.
Right.
And so there's some trial and error with that. And in my world, in the IT world, agile means something totally different than what you're talking about.
Right.
Agile is a framework for creating software. So at first I was like, is she talking about software development?
Yeah, I'm talking about how we other people in all the other areas of the business adopted agility and started to say, we need agile people who can just, turn on the dime and change as the business moves forward. As the business changes, we need you to be able to change with it. And I just think that is, I think it's just pretty interesting that this year has really sort of brought that to the forefront. And it's like, you said you were agile. Here we go.
Yeah, right.
Here's your chance to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think this pandemic has separated the wheat from the chaff, right? So showing who is a producer and who is just a consumer in the workplace.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes.
And my goal is to be a top performing producer in everything that I do. So during the day and at night.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I told somebody that the other day, I was like, look, I strive for excellence in everything that I do. And, they were like, well, I don't see how you have like the strength to like work around the clock all the time. I was like, because I have a job that I do from the time I get downstairs and sit down, at 7:30, and I work that job till 6:30, whatever. I try to cut myself off by 7 o'clock. And I said, and then I take a break and then I start working on Glow Up Girl. And I said, and I said, when you're just like you said, it's effortlessly to come and sit down and do that part B, because that part B is the part that fuels and drives and gives me, because it's my opportunity to help other people. I know that I'm sitting down and I'm creating content and being able to talk to someone like you and give a word to people that's going to be helpful and meaningful to women. So it's like when you're doing that, you don't think about it. Like I never think about like stopping. I think about, I got this one life, God gave me this one vision, and I have to chase it. Like I have to go because I have to follow. Like he told me what to do. Like when I hear it, I tell this story about even just starting Glow Up Girl and me being at this kitchen table and me hearing the Holy Spirit saying words to me, or even starting this podcast and hearing Kyra start the podcast. And me looking around crazy, of course, even though I knew what I knew. And then like saying, but nobody wants to hear me talk, God. And then being, him like, no, you're going to do this. And then just taking, following the line in his plan for my life and doing it. And when you are doing those things and you're following those things will come. I had somebody say, oh, it's just seems like things have just been coming very easy for you. I'm like, no, it's not very easy. It comes with prayer and hard work and me being on the path that I know that the purpose that God has given me. So that's why it seems to you that it's all just things are just working out for me now. I said, but no, it's favor. It's his favor on my life. It's me praying. It's me turning to God and letting him lead the way, letting him remove things that shouldn't be here, letting him introduce me to people that I need to meet. So I'm like, that's how I look at it. I said, that's why it's easy for me to keep going and not to stop at night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what you said about God downloading things to you is a key component, as well as when you're in career transition, because when you spend time in the presence of God, he gives you ideas. He gives you people's names that you may need to contact, and he will lead you and guide you in a way that you would have never been able to do on your own. And it's just being able to hear that still small voice speaking to you and saying, okay, God, this is what I need to do next. This is the step that I need to take. And he'll give you the baby steps to, achieve your goals.
No, I definitely believe that. I believe that. So I have seen that. So, if you had to say in your book, in your prayers, is there a favorite prayer that you...
A favorite prayer? I think it's the first prayer. I was looking. Oh, here's a copy of my book. I'll read it to you.
Okay.
So the first prayer is a prayer on fear. And I feel like fear is a giant that all of us have to kill at one point or another. Especially when you find yourself in career transition, fear will grip you, especially when it comes to interviews and it comes to basically interviews is something that puts people in fear, as well as just the whole search, the whole idea of doing a job search brings people into fear because they feel unworthy of finding that next role. They feel unworthy of, pursuing their dream job.
Right.
And especially in a case where that person may have been fired, they feel ashamed and afraid that someone may not hire them again.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to tell you a story about me. One in 2007, I got fired from my job. And I was just distraught. I didn't know what to do, and I felt like no one would ever hire me again. And I went on an interview, and the person interviewing me asked me, okay, so why did you leave your last position? Why are you in career transition? And I told them that I had been laid off. Well, that wasn't exactly the truth, right? So I went home that night. I couldn't sleep. I didn't want anything to eat. I was just crazy, just upset because I'm supposed to be a Christian. I'm supposed to be walking integrity, and here I am. I told a lie to a future employer. And so that night, I prayed and I was like, God, I just want to stand in my truth. I don't know how you're going to do this, but I'm going to tell the truth. The next time someone asks me, why did I leave my last role? I'll let them know that I've been fired.
Right.
So a few weeks later, I did get another interview, and I went on the interview, and I was asked that same question. Why did you leave your previous employer? And I said, well, I've been fired. And so the guy responded. He said, oh, really? He said, you came highly recommended. I said, really? He said, yes. He said, Jennifer recommended you. And she said that you were a prompt employee, that you were a pleasure to work with, and you were always committed to the job. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay. And he said, and I think, you're the last person we're going to interview. We're going to hire you.
Oh, great. That was, see what happened?
And so that night, at the time, I was like, who is Jennifer? I couldn't remember who Jennifer was. By the time I got home, I remembered that Jennifer was a person from HR that I used to work with on my old job where I got fired from. And every morning we would have coffee together.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, I would see her. I'd be like, hi, Jennifer, how's your day? Let's get this coffee in us so we can, make it happen today. And that was it. Right.
And just that connection, that relationship. Yeah.
She saw my name and was like, Sonia Cameron, she got it going on. That's a great, and I think that's a great story. Moral of the story, people, just speak your truth. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Don't lie. Don't lie. Walk in integrity.
Yeah. But at least you were able, because a lot of people would not have done that, so I think that speaks very highly of your character and who you are as a person.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but it has to do with my relationship with God. Like if I didn't have a relationship with God, then I wouldn't have been able to, say, okay, I'm gonna tell the truth.
Right.
And live with that clear conscience, right?
Yeah, yeah. Awesome.
So this is the prayer.
Okay.
Let me find it. Okay, so this is the prayer about a fearful job seeker. Heavenly Father, you are the most powerful God. You are my rock and my salvation. I have to be honest, fear has taken over my thoughts lately. I know this fear is not an emotion that comes from you. I know that faith in you is the remedy for fear. Thank you for changing the atmosphere of my life. Because of your power inside of me, I am no longer afraid. I will not fear famine. I will not fear criticism. I will overcome the thoughts of not being smart enough. I'm not afraid of economic reports because you control my personal economy. I'm not scared of being in the wrong demographic. I am determined to break past my fear of failure. I am full of faith, and I will get your provision for a new position. I know you will exceed my expectations. You keep all of your promises. I believe the scripture that says, "For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you." Isaiah 41:13. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Love that. That's great. I like that.
That's what my favorite out of the whole book, and I think that's why I put it first.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and I think it's it's timely because everything that you explained in your own personal story is what a lot of people go through, and that fear that can help people in so many ways, because whether they're looking for a job, but you do as you're trying to move forward, you get that moment where it's of doubt, where it's like, oh, well, I mean, do you really think that you're going to be able to do this? Or do you think, you hear that? And so that's a great way to be able to combat that negativity with some words from God. So that's awesome. So let's tell everybody where they can find you online and how they can purchase your book.
Okay, they can find me online at blessthework.com. BLESSTHEWORK.com. And also they can connect with me on Instagram at Bless the Work and on Facebook at Bless the Work. And my book is available at Amazon. You can search under Sonia H. Cameron, or you can search God, Please Help Me Find a Job on Amazon. As well as you can even go to your local bookstore and request my book as well.
Awesome. And to my listeners out there, what we're going to do is we're going to give away 5 of Sonia's books. We're going to bless you guys with them. So as you listen to this, then all you need to do is just reach out, say you heard Sonia, you want her book, and we are going to purchase that book and give it to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. I mean, this has been great. I love devotionals. I love prayers. Prayers that avail as much is a book that I still to this day. I mean, mine is like torn apart. The pages are falling out, but
I can relate to that.
My aunt gave me that book a really long time ago when I was younger, and before I was heading off to college. And I ended up buying a second one because I ended up gifting my copy to someone who needed it. Like there was a girl, somebody needed it, and I just said it was on my heart to give it to her. I was like, I'll get my own, but I have it's the cover is just like on the bed hanging, but it is just being able to find the right prayer. Because so many people do have problems, a lot of people don't truly understand that you can talk to God. Like, I mean, I'm talking to God all day at my desk and we're just having a conversation. But yes, when you are going before him in prayer, you do want to recite his promises back to him. And
right.
If you sometimes can't do that on your own, having devotionals that are targeted to your specific need is very helpful. And it helps people to become more comfortable when they're praying and more confident that the prayers are being heard. So I love this, and I am definitely, like I said, glow getters out there. Come on. Listen and hit me up, and we will definitely we will give 5 people this book from us. So, Sonia, thank you for joining me today. You have been a joy. Such great knowledge and tips have been shared. And guys, please make sure that you visit her website and follow her on Facebook and Instagram so that you can keep up with her and you can read her blog. Because I know, like, if she gave us this today, just imagine what more you could be getting if you're following and getting her word every day. So much success to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Yes, of course. Hang tight, guys. I'll be right back.